are there any other potential use cases for SatoriNet once it's all up and running and operational, or is it just razor focused on predictions and just predictions?
It's pretty much razor focused on predictions. And the reason is, in college, I kind of studied um, a lot of different weird things, but one of them was the brain. I really was interested. Everything kind of tended towards, I was just trying to search for what I was interested in. Everything eventually tended towards, I wanted to know what intelligence was as such. And so I spent a lot of time like looking at neurology and looking at like, well, how does the brain process data? And one of the main things I learned from that exploration was that it always predicts the future everywhere. Like there's this neural circuit that's been repeated, like evolution figured this neural circuit out, and we don't even understand it completely, but we know it's this kind of repeatable unit, and it repeats throughout the neocortex, the
Right.
mammalian brain. And so evolution figured this neural circuit out, which is kind of some kind of general intelligence, smallest unit of general intelligence or something. And then it realized if I just repeat this circuit again and again and again, I can scale intelligence. And so that's what our brains are mostly. So um, I realized that this circuit, as I learned about it, you can go read like On Intelligence by Jeff Hawkins for more on this.
Hmm.
Um, as I learned about it, I realized one of the very main thing it's doing is learning spatial temporal patterns, which allows it to always predict the future. All its patterns that it learns are like temporal patterns at the base level. So at our subconscious level, we are always predicting the future of everything. All the data that's going to come into our bodies, we're predicting what it's going to be before it comes. And that's how we kind of um, uh, discover or detect kind of anomalies. And we say, oh, I predicted her hair to be longer. Something's wrong here. Down on the base level, our neurons are like, I made a wrong prediction. And then that
Right.
flows up the hierarchy to our conscious attention and says, what is wrong here? Because I predicted something different. And then we investigate it and we say, you cut your hair. I love it. Right. So that's kind of how our brains work on the base layer. So as I was thinking about and designing Satori and kind of figuring out what it should be, I see it as the base layer of the intelligence stack of a distributed intelligence of the Earth,
Right.
computational intelligence of the Earth. So because it's mainly just prediction of the future.
Yeah.
On top of that, we can build other things. And I will say this though, predicting the future in an open fashion that it's, everybody can see it, that is the main goal of Satori. All of the public data is predicted publicly, and you can see the future of all of it.
Right.
But one thing that it will eventually do, I'm certain, is build private predictions for individuals or for companies. So a company says, okay, look, Satori, you are predicting a whole bunch of cool stuff here, but I want to know what my quarterly sales are going to be next quarter. So can you tell me that? And Satori's going to say no until we make it available to send your data into Satori. The nodes start churning it and correlating that data with the real world. And then it can say,
Right.
hey, I do have a prediction of your quarterly sales that I'm not going to broadcast to everybody because we're just contracted with you. And here you go. Here's your prediction of the future. You can see your future.
Right.
And I think that is going to be really powerful. So when I think of like, what is the evolution of Satori? I see two layers. I see we're always going to be predicting public data for everybody, plus private data for private people or whatever.
Mm.
And that will give the network, I don't know, more value. It'll allow them to earn tokens from like a private sale of
Oh,
their
for sure.
intelligence. So I think that's going to be cool. But I think you need both. So
Yeah.
I don't think one's ever going to be replaced by the other. It's always going to be this double. Yeah.
Yeah, because you do want to make predictions based on things that shouldn't necessarily be public, but it's like almost as if you're connecting your whatever data stream, like you said, like my next quarterly sales to all of the data available on Earth, right? Which technically is
Yes.
going to take predictions from, well, next quarter is August, which is proven to be like the high season for this type of business in accordance with all these other factors. They're going to
Yeah,
give
and
you,
factors you might not even think about. Like, let's
right.
say you're you're sending in your Fitbit data to Satori, and you say, tell me the future of my Fitbit data, and you're
Yeah.
going along, and everything's looking good. You're like, yeah, I'm being really healthy, and then all of a sudden, uh, it just tanks, and you're like, what the heck? What's going to happen? And you could investigate it and say, oh, it's tanking because my water supply just got tainted. And so, I'm in trouble with all these other people that are in my area. I need to stop drinking the water. So, things that are completely disparate, um, having a network of AI predicting nodes, not just one centralized AI,
Mhm.
having a network allows it to discover these kind of crazy connections. Uh,
Right.
and I think that's important.
So it's like you're building like observing the butterfly effect in a way. That's wild if you think about it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the important thing is the feedback loop that occurs because, building a public API that allows everybody to know the future will make the society as a whole more efficient.
Hmm.
But building it also, having a private prediction element allows every individual or individual company to become more efficient in their specific domain.
Right.
And so both of those will increase the efficiency. Um, because like let's going back to like the Fitbit example. Right now you don't have Satori, so you look at your Fitbit data and you say, I want to try a new diet. So I'm going to track my data, I'm going to understand my data, then I'm going to start my diet. And for 30 days, I'm going to track my data and see how it compares to the history. And I'll know how this is affecting me. I'll know how it's going to affect me in the future. Right. And so, in order to make a prediction about the future, since your data is siloed, you have to kind of capture it first. You
Right.
have to look at the future first, and then you can predict the future. Well, if your data becomes unsiloed through Satori, and you're getting immediate feedback on all of your decisions in real time, as soon as you start that diet, the Satori network says, I've seen this happen. These kinds of signatures of this kind of diet, I've seen this happen in data that looks a lot like yours before. So I can tell you within like 3 days what's going to happen for the next 30. Like how is this going to affect your data? And so it can
Right.
give you the future before it happens. And all it has to detect is like the signature of what's going on, of the change
Yeah.
that occurred. And that rapidly increases your efficiency because then you can immediately decide, I want to change the diet I've chosen or do whatever you
Oh yeah.
want.